I've been thinking about this. There's something that's been going on for centuries. At one point, we had all of these great conquerors. Alexander the Great, Catherine the Great, and Peter the Great, and Genghis Khan, Attila the Hun, Julius Caesar! He kicked some serious ass! Julius Caesar, called the greatest man who ever lived. And I aspire to be the greatest woman who ever lived. But again, I digress. Julius Caesar was by far one of the most ambitious, power-hungry, success-oriented people who ever graced the earth. And while these traits make him great, they also made him the target of a brutal assassination that Shakespeare capitalized on by writing a play about it. Everybody's always trying to make a name for themselves. By the way, Caesar never said et tu Brute. He was too busy covering his face in shame and trying to ward off knife attacks. The et tu Brute thing was made up by Shakespeare. He was responsible for turning Rome from a republic into an empire. He completely abolished the old system in Rome. He was extremely proud of all of the people that he murdered. So are today's most psychopathic serial killers when interviewed from behind bars, but instead of being punished for it, Caesar was promoted, at least until he was killed, and made a permanent fixture in the history books. Caesar was born in Subura, Italy, which is a large neighborhood in Rome in 100 BC, 100 years before Christ came on the scene and ended up being crucified by the Romans. The Subura was apparently filthy, full of crime, quite the slum. That said, Caesar was from an aristocratic family, although they did lose a lot of their wealth, which explains why they were there. Because of Caesar's aristocratic roots, he was allowed to hang out in the Senate. There was a sort of civil war going on with two sides of the Senate. There was a lot of craziness, violence, murders, total mayhem because of this. Caesar, as a young teenager, was basically on a hit list of political enemies, and people killing the folks in this list were provided rewards, so he had to go into hiding. He was reluctantly pardoned by the guy in charge of all this killing, the conservative Roman dictator Sulla. At this time, there were all sorts of issues in Rome, all sorts of garbage going on. For 600 years, Rome was treated as a republic. It was ruled by aristocratic senators who were just volunteers. They kept changing their jobs. They were just whatever. Then Rome expanded. It got much bigger, controlled a huge empire. It was protected by an official large army. But these guys that made up the army, when they retired, there was no money. They wanted a pension or something. They had absolutely nothing. So you had all these people that were arguing in favor of the veterans being taken care of. These were the so-called reformers. Then you had others arguing against it. It was just a total mess. To keep safe, because Caesar still wasn't safe in Rome, his family sent him abroad in his mid-20s to do things like public speaking and to get an education. While he was abroad and selling, he was kidnapped by pirates. This is what Julius Caesar first showed what he was actually made of, in terms of bravery and confidence, or total, complete, unadulterated insanity. Depends on how you look at it. He actually scoffed at the amount that the pirates were asking for, and he said that he was worth more than that. These pirates, the brainiacs that they were, did end up charging more money, just like what Caesar said. The money was paid, and then Caesar was set free, because again, these pirates were a bunch of brainiacs. Huge screw up. At this point, Caesar got some help to capture the pirates, and not only did he capture them, he had them killed. Throats cut, and then they were crucified. Basically, this huge political billboard advertisement for Caesar that said, "Do not screw with Caesar." And then there was Spartacus. He was a gladiator, an escaped slave leader in the Third Servile War. The Third Servile War was basically a big slave uprising against the Roman Republic. Caesar fought against Spartacus and defeated and captured him, as well as 6,000 rebels. And when I say defeated, I mean decimated. I mean crucified, tortured, the whole 9 yards, Caesar style. At the age of 32, Caesar joined the Senate. To rise up the ladder, Caesar needed money, but Caesar was dirt poor. Now enter Crassus, the wealthy, although quite corrupt, commanding officer during the Spartacus debacle. He was the wealthiest man in Rome. Caesar saw a statue of Alexander the Great, and he was like, "Wow, wow, wow. Alexander the Great, he did so much by the time he was my age, and what have I done? This put him in overdrive and ensured the murders and deaths of multitudes to come as Caesar ramped up his quest for greatness. With the help of Crassus, he paid for all of this stuff out of pocket, like entertainment, public entertainment, all sorts of things. He bought everyone's affection. He was married, but he had affairs with tons of people, both men and women alike.